YouTube. This is Mahadeva, the Thunder Wizard. All right, so today I want to talk to you about 2 free guaranteed methods. Guaranteed. How many people make these kinds of guarantees? I guarantee you that if you do one or both of these methods, that you can communicate directly and feel the connection to the ascended masters of the highest heavens. So there are 2 methods whereby you can do this. The first method is the external method. Whoops, give me a second here. The external method is a method in which, and you can look for this on my channel, the Elf Ritual. So look for that on my channel. The Elf Ritual. So the external method uses ritual to connect your third eye to the realm of the ascended masters, where they, whoops, that's not what I wanted to do, where they, what is going on here with this? Stop doing that. Where they download information to you through your third eye. All right, so there's the first method, the external method. Second method, the internal method. The internal method of directly connecting with the ascended masters is where you activate meridians in your body so that the ascended masters can directly infuse your body with their energy. All right, and for that you can go to the Summoning Immortals Qigong, which you can find on my channel. And these are both free methods that you can use. It is extremely important that we do this now. By the way, this is what I'm talking about here. The free methods I'm telling you about, this one here is the Summoning the Immortals Qigong, which you can just go to directly on my channel. You can look for it. Again, if you don't know how to do it, go and find, and you can do this with any channel, by the way, not just mine. Find the channel page on YouTube. To do that for me, you type in Thunder Wizard up in the search bar at the top, or thunderwizard.com, and you will see my YouTube channel. You click on that YouTube channel page, and then depending on what, whether you're on a phone or whether you're on a laptop or whatever, find whatever means. On a laptop or a desktop, there will be a secondary menu that'll say videos, about, and there will be a magnifying glass. You click on that magnifying glass and you type in whatever you want, or you can go to the playlists. So it's important that you not be lazy when it comes to YouTube. Otherwise, YouTube will just keep directing you in different places. On my channel, if you want to find both of these videos, you can easily do it. Maybe before the end, I'll put links in there just to make it easier for you. But I believe people should, be able to find it on their own. Because what if there isn't somebody around to give you a link? You can find it. You can find both of these things on my channel. This one is the internal method. The external method is a much older video, but they both work extremely well, and they both do different things. So bear in mind, there's always the internal versus the external. There's your internal experience And then there's your projected internal experience onto external reality. And so the way that you view your relationship to yourself and to the universe will have a huge impact on your life. If you realize that you yourself are God, that you yourself are the source of all things, that you are immortal, omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, you're not bound by time or space, that you are the creator of this matrix, this three-dimensional matrix that we live in, which we call reality. You are the creator and the author of all of the challenges and all of the hidden benefits that are available to you. The only job that you have to do when you get here in this three-dimensional meatbag form is to awaken to your true essence and then act from that. That's all you have to do. Once you learn how to do that, which this whole channel is devoted to help you doing, then instead of you being a victim of circumstances, instead of you being this tiny little being in this big universe that does things to you, instead of you waiting around for God's will, you have the ability to literally direct the universe to follow your commands. You find out what it is you chose to do. You know, when you play video games, role-playing video games, before you even can log into World of Warcraft or whatever it is, you have to create an avatar. So you have all these avatars to choose from, and you pick the avatar that has the strengths and the weaknesses that are fun for you. You've done that with this physical body that you've been given. You are not your avatar. You've figured out all of these different ways that you wanted to play out this video game. If you're miserable in life, if you're unhappy, if you feel challenged and blocked, I understand. If you want out of this matrix, if you don't want to reincarnate, I understand. But unfortunately, you're forgetting the most important part of this, which is that you created this whole thing. This was all your idea. So that's the bad news. The bad news is nobody got you here. You got you here. So you have to get yourself out. The good news is if you got yourself into whatever situation you're in, you can get yourself out. And so this is what I'm here to help you do. So these two methods are guaranteed methods by which you can interact with the beings of the highest heavens. These are ascended masters. These are people that used to be humans, who knows, 5 years ago or 2 million years ago. This is the human beings who have mastered their true essence, and they've lived however many lifetimes they've lived. They've now accomplished what they came here to accomplish, just like you have come here to accomplish something for yourself. And bear in mind, what you came here to do was not for other people. That is part of it. What you do for other people, your dharma, your service to the world, all of that is part of what you came here to do for yourself. This is a selfish experience. It's not, and being selfish is not bad. In fact, every person, listen to me very carefully, every person that is destructive and, quote, selfish is actually living for other people. The most evil narcissist in the world, the most evil serial killer, mass murderer, think of whoever you want. They are actually living for other people's approval. No matter what they tell themselves, no matter how they act, no matter what they say to you. You know, when we say somebody has a big ego, they have too much ego, it's actually not true. You can't have too much ego. People who are narcissistic actually have zero ego. They have zero identity. They are overcompensating for not having a self. So you can't have too much of a self. But when you have a full, complete self, fully empowered within yourself, then you have no need to influence other people, to gain approval from other people, to affect anybody else. You let everybody else have their own life. And the end result is you get everything. You get people's love, you get people's approval, you get resources from the universe, you get unlimited physical power, health, longevity. All of that when you are self-contained and self-empowered. So I want you to get rid of the idea that you came here to serve other people. Anybody who talks like that. In fact, if somebody comes and says, I'm not here for myself, I am here for others, my job is to help the world, unless they're talking about something that is of great joy to them. If there's any kind of feeling of superiority or inferiority, you're dealing with, on some scale, a narcissist. Because the truly selfless, empowered people are people who live first and foremost for their own spiritual empowerment and joy. The most powerful way, the most effective way to help other people in any fashion is to first empower yourself. If you're on an airplane with a child and the plane starts to go down and the oxygen mask falls down, you don't first put the oxygen mask on your child. Because then, as you're doing that, you will run out of oxygen and you will pass out, and both you and your child will die of asphyxiation. When the oxygen mask comes down, you first put it over yourself, get the oxygen in your system, then put it on your child. That is how you need to go through life. All right, so we're talking about connecting directly to the Ascended Masters here. And the reason why this is absolutely crucial is because we are at a crossroads. We are, you've been hearing about it for years, that we're going through a shift. A big shift is coming, and those who aren't awakened will perish, etc. You've been hearing that from religion, you've been hearing that from New Age, you've been hearing it, from all angles. It's not coming, it's here now. You have a huge chunk of the population who is absolutely, completely lost in their delusions. They do not know what the truth is. Even if you give them the truth, they will discard it. In anger and rage, they will fume at you for giving them the truth. They are completely lost in their delusion. We are on the verge of heading towards another dark age. Remember the Dark Ages? What was just happening before the Dark Ages was that you had, whatever problems there were, excuse me, I'm getting a little warm here. Whatever problems there were with the Roman Empire 2,000 years ago, and there were plenty. There's a lot of things about it that I talk about that I don't like. Whatever problems they had knowledge that we've lost. They had mastery of mathematics, and they were starting to come to understand astronomy. They were already talking about the circumference of the globe of the Earth, things that were just far beyond what we would think. They had aqueducts and all kinds of stuff that today we're still trying to figure out, similar to the pyramids. We're still trying to figure out how they built the pyramids. They had access to a knowledge, to science that we've lost. What happened right after that, as human beings were starting to come to the realization of where they were physically in the universe and understanding almost precisely the circumference of the Earth, then came fundamentalist Abrahamic monotheist religion that was adopted and co-opted by the elites, which was then used to take control of the known world. And one of the ways they did that was they destroyed people's connection to nature and to the gods and to the ancestors. That was the first thing religion did, is it made it evil. In fact, they would kill you. They would flay you alive. They would peel the skin off your body or burn you alive if you even dared to engage in any kind of spiritual practice that gave you empowerment within yourself. And the result of that was the Dark Ages, the Middle Ages. It was one of the worst, if not the worst, period of history in the human race, where you had elites who were kings, who were emperors. You had fascists controlling the world. We are on the verge of entering that. I'm not going to get into anything specific because I'm not allowed to. Every time I try and get specific, the message gets lost. My job is to help you connect to your own soul and your own spirit. So, you have the internal method and the external method. The external method is, as I've said before, on this channel, it's called the Elf Ritual. You can go find it on my channel. You can do it. And what you do is you use external reality. With a ritual, you use external reality to connect your third eye, to turn your third eye into an antenna whereby the Ascended Masters can communicate directly to your higher self. And it's real simple. I'll give you the most simplified version of it. You just simply face northwest. That's all you have to do. That is the direction where the magnetic energy of the planet is most conducive to connecting to the highest vibrations of the Ascended Masters. My ancestors called them the elves. The Vedics would call them the bodhisattvas. Everybody has their own, the ancestors. The ancestors aren't just your immediate ancestors. They're the ancestors of the human race, that they stand on the gateway to infinity. They've done all of their work. They have accomplished and mastered everything there is to be a human soul. They've accomplished it all. They need not learn anything more. They are standing on the precipice between limited reality and being into what we can only assume is infinity, because we can't understand it. They look at infinity, they turn back towards the planet Earth, and they stand ready to guide us to become like they are. And so when you face the northwest, you are directly connected to the highest vibrational energy there is coming from the human realm. And simply, the simplest thing is if you just, like I'm sitting in a chair, and if I open my palms and hold my arms out, on my knees or on the edge of the chair, holding my palms out towards the northwest, and if I just close my eyes and just begin breathing deeply. If you know the Hool breath, you can do the Hool breath. But it doesn't matter. You face that, and if you want to do it like, in the middle of the night or at midnight, these kinds of things, a full moon, all of these things will be helpful for you. And you just simply ask, show me. Show me how I can best evolve. Just that mindset. And if you just sit and breathe, you will feel a very subtle influence come over you. You may even have visions. You may have feelings. You may get words, however they communicate with you. If you want to light incense, like I said, the elf ritual, I teach you a very powerful ritual which works. So this is a ritual. And when you do that, you will gain information into your higher self, which will always, this is how you know you're communicating with the Ascended Masters. The Ascended Masters always give you information that do two things simultaneously. They show you how you can better evolve and empower yourself, be happier, healthier, and more spiritually evolved, and simultaneously how that will affect every other being in the universe. Perhaps you will become aware of how your behavior affects other people, either positively or negatively. They may come to you and say, hey, you know, every time that you act like this, it's destructive to you. And not only that, it's destructive to other people in this way. Or they'll have something positive to tell you. You know, every time that you do this that you feel guilty about, all that time that you spend surfing because you should be out doing something productive, but instead you're on the beach playing in the ocean, you're actually opening up your heart center and connecting to the universe. And when you do that, then Mahadeva, you can come back and create better videos to help other people. That's, you know, that would be a message to me. Yours will be yours. Every time you ride a horse, every time you walk in the woods, every time you paint, every time you make music, every time you do that thing that you think is selfish and kind of stupid, but it's really fun, and you kind of hide it. You know, they'll say, no, that is the practice that's most important, that gives you the ability to not only make yourself happy, but you see how this energy flows to all of consciousness. This is the message they will always give you. It will always be a twofold message of your empowerment, which helps others. That's how you know you're talking to the Ascended Masters. And the fastest way to connect to them is to face northwest, because as we've seen in the Thunder Wheel, the northwest is the realm of the highest mind. So that's the external method. That can be done by anybody at any time, no matter what your level. It's a very user-friendly interface, because at our, quote, lower levels, we are more comfortable with the idea of being separate from other things. That the universe is outside of us, that we are small, the universe is big. This is more comfortable for us. The idea of becoming fully connected and omnipotent and omnipresent, that can be challenging for the human mind, and it can be a little frightening. So we have that first method, which is the external method. The second method is the internal method. This is the most powerful, among the most powerful free practice I have for you on this channel, which is the Qigong ritual to summon the immortals. And what happens in this practice is, instead of creating a dualistic setup where you are on one side and the Ascended Masters are another, and they sort of connect with you and channel information to you, you now are actually summoning them. And they come and they bring their power down to you, specifically into your heart center. Somebody just recently messaged me, and I haven't got a chance to get back to her yet if she's watching. And she asked me, I've been doing this, summoning the immortals practice, and I'm feeling a lot of energy in my heart. In fact, my heart rate, increases a little bit, and I was just wondering if that's normal. Yes, doesn't have to happen, but that is not uncommon. That's because this practice is opening up your what's called the heart mind and connecting it directly to the third eye. And in this practice, instead of just the Ascended Masters sending you information to your third eye that you listen to and you choose to do or not do, they are actually giving you an energetic transmission directly into your soul. That's what makes this so powerful. And I challenge you, if you're new to this channel, I challenge you to do that. Do that free practice. And I challenge you to not have an experience. I dare you to do it and tell me that nothing happened, that you had no physical experience, that you had no energetic experience that you could feel. You will have an experience. I am only interested in practical exercises that work. That's why I tell people, if all you're doing is coming on my channel and watching me talk, you're getting 1% of what I'm here to give you. I'm here to give you practical tools that if you do them, they will absolutely give you, first and foremost, an experience that you can feel. Unlike religion, where it's an experience of the intellect. You have to believe in Jesus. If you believe in Jesus, then you're saved. I mean, how do you put any of that? How does that knowledge? I mean, there's plenty of homeless people who are saved, but it doesn't give them the ability to change their life. It's all just a bunch of stuff in their head. I'm giving you stuff that if you do the practices, you will feel and experience a connection. And this is something that religion has wanted to take away from human beings from the beginning. When I first started practicing this, and if you want to look at the most elite practice, this is it right here, maoshan.thunderwizard.com, and then we go into depth here, thunderwizard.com, the 90-day warrior lightning qigong. That's really where you learn all of the secret. I mean, I'm continuing to teach more and more stuff. Just go on there, you just follow through the videos, and it gives you, anyway, I won't get into all of that, but when I first started doing this, when was it, 30 years ago? When I first started doing this 30 years ago, I had just come out of religion. I had just left monotheist religion. I was going to college, a Bible college, and I was studying to become a minister. I was going to be one of those guys my plan was to have one of those big mega churches, and I was one of those guys that went on the street and preached on the street. I did exorcisms, etc., and I would take people through, the salvation prayer, all that stuff. And I walked away from all of that, and it was the most difficult thing I've ever done, because I didn't leave Christianity because I didn't believe in it. I still believed in it. I just didn't respect it. I couldn't respect a deity who threw people into hell simply for having the wrong intellectual idea of what God was. I couldn't tolerate the thought that my non-religious friends who would walk in front of a bus to save my life were going to spend eternity in hell, when all of these other church-going people who had the right understanding were going to be in heaven. I said, that's just not fair. I won't worship a God that does that. And I absolutely believed that I would spend eternity in hell for it. Looking back on it, I can't believe that I had the balls to do that, but I did. My integrity was more important to me than my salvation. Of course, that turned out to be nonsense. Just a few years after that, I was introduced to this, not looking for it. I was looking for something else, and I ended up finding this extremely powerful hidden tradition, which, to my knowledge, I'm the first person who's publicly sharing this information, to my knowledge. When I started doing that, the first night I came home from that class, and I went into one of the postures, which I teach you here. I went into one of those postures. I felt a power flow through my body that was orgasmically blissful, and the level of, the vibration of it was of such a high nature. It was, my first experience was, wow, it was just so blissful and amazing. And then the first thought that jumped into my head was, this is evil. Because I had been taught by religion that anything that does not confess Jesus Christ is of the devil. And any experience, you're talked out of having an experience. Unless, of course, you have an experience the way they want it. But if you go to church and you say, I was meditating, or I did a Buddhist mantra, or I did some shamanic thing, or I was looking at the ocean and I had this experience, they will say, that's evil. That's the devil tempting you, trying to deceive you. And so I was filled with fear at first, because I thought, oh my God, am I connecting to some evil entity? And I thought about it and I said, that doesn't make any sense. How can something that feels so amazingly powerful and wonderful, how could it possibly be evil? So I said, I'm going to, I've already walked away from religion, so what's the worst that can happen? I'm already, according to them, I'm already doomed for eternity, so what the hell does it matter? And what ended up happening over those next few years is that I learned how to deprogram myself from that cult and from that destructive mindset, self-destructive, self-hating mindset of religion. And that is what religion is designed to do. It's designed to control giant populations, to control the collective unconscious of the whole world, if they can, so that rich people can benefit from controlling it. We are walking into one of those situations. We're almost in it. There's just a couple of threads left that once those threads are broken, we will be living in a theocracy. We will be living in a world where fascists, dictators control what you say and what you do, and you can be, watch what happens. So we need to, if we want to evolve past that, we can't do what we've been doing before. We need a direct energetic infusion from the ascended masters. So this is what this practice does. Again, it's a free practice for you, but I strongly recommend that you go here and subscribe to the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. What's going to be happening when I have enough people, and I've got other things going, I'm finally going to start branching outside of YouTube. We'll see what happens with it, but I'm going to really put some effort into bringing more and more and more people into this. My first goal is to have 1,000. We have 1,000 people who have access directly to the most transformative energies of the highest heavens that this practice and this practice and this practice can give to you. When I have 1,000 people who are doing that, perhaps long before then, we'll see. But when I think we have enough people, we're going to start doing live, interactive, energy, intentional exercises together. We'll do meditations together. We'll do simple energy, it'll either be like Zoom or Skype or, something like that. Or maybe live YouTube, something. And once we have enough people to do that, we will take this energy of the heart. We'll talk about that in a second. Take this energy of the heart and we will use our third eye to intend an evolutionary shift on the planet. We can deal with whatever different things that we think of. If we want to direct it towards politics, if we want to direct it towards redistributing the power of the elite back to the masses of the people, if we want to change the negative climate shifts that are happening, world hunger, whatever it is that we think is helpful to us and the rest of the world, we'll be able to take that energy and intend it. Now, I can't guarantee what's going to happen, but I know that we will change for sure. So what is it, the difference between these two? So I'm pointing at this one. This isn't really the second one. I just like to have two things to point at. So we've got the first method, which is the external method. By the way, there's not a better or worse method. All right? They both work just fine. They're both perfectly good. I do them both on a regular basis. So it's not one or the other. But when we do the external method, what we are doing is reaffirming on the external plane our relationship to ourselves, to the universe, and to other people. And this is extremely important. There's not one or the other. The difference between a sane person and, let's say, an insane person, specifically like somebody who has narcissistic personality disorder versus a, quote, healthy person. They're both doing the same thing. but one is doing it effectively and one is doing it ineffectively. The person who is healthy has an internal experience of infinity within themselves, and they seek to connect to objective infinity, and they seek to unite their infinity with objective infinity. And this is something that I'll be teaching sometime in the near future. I can't tell you exactly when, but it's a method called holding the three ones, where you literally take the three selves within you, you merge them within the three selves of the objective universe, and you become one. That is what healthy people do. They take their internal reality and they merge it with objective external reality. And then those two become one. And when that happens, you have become immortal. You phase out of existence and you go to a higher level of being. While you're practicing that in the human form, it is, in my experience, the most powerful way to literally create your external reality. So that's the external method. The internal method. The internal method is really important because if your internal experience is out of phase with the external reality, then you're going to create a schism. This is a narcissist. What a narcissist does is a narcissist, because of the trauma that they've experienced as infants, they create a false reality, a childish fantasy world where everything is perfect and they are perfect. They create an internal fantasy where everybody worships them and sees them as the greatest this, the most perfect that, and that becomes their reality. They then take this false childish reality that they've created out of their own desire to distance themselves from their own self-hatred and pain. They create this fantasy reality and then they try and paste that onto external reality. They try and force their childish fantasy where they are perfect and can do no wrong and everybody loves them. They then try and force that onto external reality. And of course, external reality doesn't agree with that, and they end up in tremendous conflict with everything. So this is why narcissists are so destructive. Because when you have your own life, you're an independent being with your own life and your own, what's best for you. They can't tolerate that. You are there to serve their fantasy. And so they manipulate, they control, they abuse in an attempt to try and grab you, pull you into their fantasy, take away your individuality, and then take that new creation of you. They've turned you into a zombie that only does what they want, and then they try and put you back into external reality, so external reality will look like how they want things to be. That's why they're so destructive. So this internal method here allows the ascended masters to give an energy transmission directly into your soul, to your essence, so that you will you will want to create that internal environment that actually agrees with external objective reality. The false reality can go both ways. So I've just told you what a narcissist tries to do. They create a false, childish fantasy world where they are perfect and everybody loves them and they control everybody. By the way, in their fantasy, everybody else is just like a zombie. They're not real people with their own desires, their own lives. They are beings that simply bow to them and do what they want. And then they try and force that onto external reality. But the internal method, when you truly connect to your soul, you then realize that you are interconnected with everything and that you must die to your childish false attachments of you know, all the stuff that we have to work through. I mean, what I talk about a narcissist is an extreme example of what everybody has to do. We all have to do it. So this direct transmission of energy into your body, into your heart, gives you the ability to destroy those false internal bubbles of fantasy reality that you've created to protect yourself out of your false understandings about your relationship to others and to the universe. That energy destroys that so that you can feel a connection to everything. And then you, ironically, when you become nothing, meaning you get rid of your internal false fantasies, when you let go of that and you, quote, become nothing, you then become everything. And I'm going to give you a mantra in case you don't have a mantra. If you do have a mantra, you can go ahead and sorry, hang on. Oh, there we go. If you do have a mantra, go ahead and keep doing the mantra you have. But if you don't have a mantra, here's one that can give this to you. This is a Ganesha mantra. Trying to remember what it is. I can't remember it offhand. I'll have to try and remember it later on. But I can tell you what the mantra does. It's it's not Mahodara. Anyway, I'll try and remember it. It's an aspect of Ganesha where Ganesha's belly is full. So as you know, Ganesha is he's actually a child. He's a fat child with an elephant head. And so his fat stomach represents the universe. It means that he is completely filled with the universe, his unity with the universe, his stomach. He's full, he's satisfied. And so this mantra is supposed to give you the ability to overcome your anger, because anger means you feel you haven't been given. This is, by the way, whenever you're angry, it's because you feel that somebody has taken away your access to resources, love, money, safety. You know, you get angry when your physical life is threatened, or your emotional or spiritual life, your psychological well-being is threatened. You become angry. It's a defense mechanism, and this is why people people who steal are angry. This is why criminals are angry, because they don't feel they have access, that they've been denied it. You know, criminals will talk about how the system takes this from you and does that to you, and we live in it's an unfair world, and so I'm going to go get mine. They're angry because they don't feel loved. They don't feel they have access to resources. So this gives you, this aspect of Ganesha gives you the ability to feel satiated with everything, and then you have this experience of being one with the entire universe. And I'll have to remember what that mantra is. I can't remember it offhand. Anyway, but so you can just go worship Ganesha. That just any worship of Ganesha. Just his basic mantra will do it as well. Om Ganapataye Namah. No, I'll give you a better one. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namah. You can worship that. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namah. That will be one of the most powerful ways to give you a feeling that you are connected to everything, and that everything nourishes you and you nourish everything. That you are simultaneously infinite and everything around you is infinite and gives to you. All right? So those are the two methods that we have. Did I see a question? Oh, there is a question there. So those are the two methods that we have, and you can find both of those on my channel. And I've given you, go up to the first thing, I've given you both of the methods and both of the videos there. And maybe before the end, I'll search for the links for that in case you can't find it yourself and you want me to do it for you. But in the meantime, I'll take this question. So Philip Church, I've seen you on my channel before. Yes, you're not new to my channel. So I've given very clear instructions on how I want people to ask questions. Why am I making a big deal out of this? Is it because I'm anal retentive? Possibly. But more importantly, I am teaching you and everybody that the way to get the universe to teach you everything is also learn how the universe wants to be communicated with. So you have to be willing to get rid of yourself and listen. This is why teachers teach you specific ways to do things, and why rituals have specific things you have to do in order to get the universe to respond. So I've made it really clear. You've done it right. Question. But I want you to write the word in all caps. Because if there's a bunch of people, I won't get to your question. You are not empowering yourself by making sure that I see it. If you don't do that, I could miss it. You end up not getting your question answered, so it doesn't serve you. All right? So you write question, can you alternate between both internal and external? So I said in the very beginning, perhaps you came in late, but in the very beginning I said, I do both. So the short answer to your question is yes. One isn't better than the other. They both do two different things, and it's important to be able to understand both. You'll have, in the first method, I should say, in the second method, you'll have a stronger physical experience because you are asking for the Ascended Masters literally to transmit their energy. So instead of them verbally or intellectually telling you here's what it is, they're actually putting the energy directly in you. It's like you're being reprogrammed from the energy. And this is one of the, I should probably say, this is the defining characteristic of the Maoshan. Maoshan, Taoists, the reason why the Maoshan are considered to be sorcerers, black magicians, etc., is because everything is more of an internal method. They do a bunch of external methods, don't get me wrong. But what they're seeking to do is to be conduits for the ancestors. So they have multiple practices, which, I mean, you can just adopt certain postures. You can, say certain phrases, which will then, you'll start to, your body will start to move, and you'll start to spontaneously, so you might go into a spontaneous Qigong exercise. You might start, spontaneously moving around. And that is actually the energy of the Ascended Masters coming into your body. And so that was a huge part of their whole tradition. Some people who are doing both of these, going to you who are subscribed to the 90-day, who've been doing the practices that I teach, some people are coming back and saying, I'm finding when I'm doing the such and such sitting posture that I start to move and rotate and my body starts moving by itself. People are doing these practices, and I explain to them how to get the Ascended Masters to come and actually, teach you the forms. You'll find as you're sitting in a stance or a posture that your body will spontaneously adjust and move in a certain way, and it'll feel like somebody's just very gently guiding your body, which is exactly what's happening. And the whole idea of that is that when the structure aligns in a certain way, you open up certain meridians that connect you directly to the heart. So what is it about the heart center that is so important to communicating with the Ascended Masters? The external method is the third eye. The internal method is the heart. And the reason why this is important is because, number one, your soul resides in your heart center. You are made up of at least 3 different entities. You're made up of many more. You have your 5 organs, which are 5 entities in and of themselves. In fact, every cell in your body is an independent living entity. But you have 3 major entities. You have your higher self, you have your middle self, which is your soul, and you have your lower self, which is your human personality. All the things associated with your psychology is in your lower self. Your middle self is your eternal self. This is the part of you that lives eternally. There's a piece of you, in case you don't know this, there is perhaps the majority of you, maybe this is you physically, this part of you that you identify with is just one ray, just one light beam of an eternal source, which is constantly in the external, in the eternal. So you're here in space-time, so you don't realize that. But there's a part of you, if not the majority of you, that is existing in what people want. When people talk about 5D, this is what they're trying to talk about. I could go off on how wrong that whole 5D thing is, but they're right about one thing they're intuiting, which is that there is a part of you, which is the eternal part of you that exists outside of time, which doesn't go through all of the problems that you go through. So your direct access to that is your soul. And the main objective, if you will, of coming to Earth as a human is to learn how to identify 100% with your soul as opposed to your human identity. It would be like if you were playing World of Warcraft, and as you create your avatar, let's say you create your shaman avatar, and you're playing the shaman in World of Warcraft, and it would be, imagine if you were to completely, totally just be pulled into that digital environment and you became unaware of your human self that's actually, hitting the keyboard on your computer. That's what happens when we're in our human form. We forget and we disconnect from the actual source of us that's watching and experiencing this game that we're in. And so if you want to know what is your purpose in life, your primary purpose in life is to learn to operate 100% to the best of your ability from your soul, as opposed to your identity here, your human avatar. And when you do that, then life, as I share in many of my books and videos, life then takes on this fantasy game where you're able to change everything in your external environment. The only thing you're not able to change is other people. You cannot control other people, but you can control your external environment and what happens physically with your body, what happens with your life. That's the main reason that you're here. And so by working with the internal method, you are allowing that vibration of the highest heaven, because it is a vibration. It is, you can go look it up, what the Mao Shan called the Shang Qing. In fact, that used to be the name, the original name for the Mao Shan tradition was the Shang Qing. Shang Qing means highest heaven. So there is a vibration there. There is a frequency there. And you can change your frequency. Certain thoughts, certain emotions, certain beliefs. This is why I'm constantly telling people to please drop all of the fear-based conspiracy theories. Forget about them being right or wrong. When you are operating from "they're doing it to me," you are at a certain frequency. And at that frequency, you can't experience other frequencies. This is why when people are insane, which, I'm saying that, a huge chunk of the collective unconscious has gone insane. They're locked in a delusional, fear-based mindset that it doesn't matter what you tell them. You could give them actual truth and it won't matter to them because it doesn't vibrate on their crazy vibration. So the frequency of the highest heavens is going to give you access to all kinds of other self states, other mood states, other awarenesses. And so that's why it's important to do this practice, to drop all of your preconceived ideas of who you are, what the world is, what's happening, who does what, my relationship to everything. And you got to drop all of that. You got to be willing to go back to nothing. And then let the frequency of their energy transmission, let it change you. And when the frequency changes, you will change. Your awarenesses will change. And then you'll be able to hear some of the things I say that, I was on last, when was that? I deleted the video because once again, I realized there are just some things I can't talk about. I'm just not supposed to talk about. But somebody, unsubscribed and said, I can't ever listen to you because you say this about this. The inability of people to just listen to somebody else's opinion. And just go, no, that's their opinion. I have mine. They have theirs. The inability to do that is a frequency issue. When somebody comes in from a different frequency, they have to block it out. They can't tolerate something that doesn't vibrate on the same level that they're at. So when you start working with the Ascended Masters, you start to drop old ideas, you start to drop assumptions, and your thoughts and your feelings will shift. But you will have to grow and evolve in order to be able to tolerate that higher level of energy. And so there's a specific level of energy that we work with, which is called the level of the highest heavens. And that's where the most evolved spiritual masters live. All right, so Jedi Black Knight, what did I just say to Philip Church? You've been on my channel. You know the rules. I tell you exactly what to do. I tell you in order to ask me a question, you write the word question in all caps so I can see it. And then you write your question. You've been on here for so long and you don't follow directions. Why? When it comes to spiritual practices, asking me a question isn't a spiritual practice, but when it comes to spiritual practices, there are certain rules that a teacher is going to tell you. You have to do this and do this and do this. And they're doing that for a specific reason. So it's a good idea. This is what discipline is. This is why they don't call them spiritual fun time things. They call them spiritual disciplines, because you have to have discipline and follow discipline. And that discipline creates the ability to do what I just said, which was to change your frequency. All right? So Jedi Black Knight says, can I use the 5 element sounds with the lightning mudra you taught recently? I'm asking because I'm still healing from the swollen ankle tendon, so I'm constrained to do sitting postures for now. So Jedi Black Knight, I'm not sure. First off, I feel for you. I've been in that position. And I still, when I hit plateaus in my life, I still go through what's called tension myositis syndrome. So in case anybody's not familiar with that, you can go look it up. So you haven't completely understood what this is. So to give people a background, Jedi Black Knight's been following me for a while. He is not one of my apprentices. I do not work with him personally. To my knowledge, I've never even spoke with him. But he's been following me for a while. I assume that he is, he's subscribed to the thunderwizard.com Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. All right, and so he's talking about various practices in there that I teach. So among those, we have standing postures. So you see me doing a movement here, but I'm also in a standing posture as I'm doing it. And that's there for a reason. The standing postures are very powerful because they allow the meridians of the entire body to open up as well as connect to the earth, the power of the earth. And so doing this is an integral part. Now, you don't have to do standing postures. If somebody like Jedi Black Knight is constrained and they have to sit, there are seated postures that you can do, which also are very powerful as well. So it's okay. There's so many options. You're not bound by it. But the standing postures really expand your power and really open up all of the meridians. So he has been complaining about, according to him, he's been doing the standing postures wrong. He's got something wrong with his ankle, the tendons in his ankle, and so he can't do them. And I have suggested to him that what he's suffering from is called tension myositis syndrome. Tension myositis syndrome is a fancy way of simply saying that your nerve tissues get swollen. Anytime you see itis, tendonitis, it means swollen tendons. It's not a specific disease, it's a symptom. So tendonitis could be a symptom of something else. It's inflammation of the nerve tissues specifically, and the nerves and the tendons and the muscles. So unless there is an actual physical injury, like your leg is snapped, unless there's something going on like that, the pain, like the majority, I hesitate to say all, but definitely the majority of chronic pain, back pain, joint pain, all that stuff, even the word arthritis. These are just words that doctors use to describe symptoms. Tendonitis. So what he's talking about is he's talking about tendonitis. Very simply, tendonitis in his ankle. That's it. That's all that's happening to you, Jedi Black Knight. You have swollen tendons. Okay? That's all that's happening. If your ankle was broken, you wouldn't be able to stand. But the majority of people, and I went through this when I was in my 30s, chronic back pain where you can't function. You're on your back is completely gone into spasm, and I used to say things like, I have a bad back, I can't do this, I can't do that, until I started looking into tension myositis syndrome, which was discovered by Dr. John Sarno, I believe his name. You can look him up. He was a physical doctor, bone guy, who came to this understanding that when we are in deep unconscious conflict with ourselves, what ends up happening is, in order to avoid the conflict, like major internal unconscious conflict about your life, when you are angry, when you're furious because there's something in your life that you can't tolerate, but for whatever reason, like in order to keep a marriage going, that's what I did, in order to fit in society, in order to be a good person, in order to follow old ideas that have been put into your unconscious mind, your soul wants to do one thing, and your incorrect survival strategies want you to do something else. This creates enormous rage within the unconscious mind. And if you were to become aware of this rage, you would get a divorce, quit your job, change religions, move to another country, something like that. Something major, or at least you would experience it as a major change. It is so intolerable. Like, for instance, I was in a bad marriage. My marriage, I didn't belong with that woman. And in order to make the marriage work, I had to stuff down all of my feelings about what I couldn't tolerate, what I couldn't stand. I was miserable. And so what ended up happening is that my left knee started, got swollen, like it was hot, and it would like pulsate, and there was nothing wrong with it. I ended up getting surgery on it for, a minor, what do you call the little lining inside the knee? I forget what that's called. But I had some minor surgery that supposedly would fix it, and it did. It fixed it for a couple of months, and then it came back worse than ever. Sciatica pain shooting down my leg and my back locking up, my neck locking up. I was in so much, my tendonitis was so bad, I wouldn't have been able to pick this up. Would have been too painful. And of course, doctors look at those symptoms and they tell you, oh, you've done this to yourself, you've done that to yourself, all the martial arts, all the weightlifting, all of the et cetera, so you're just going to have to live with this. But there was nothing physically wrong with me. The majority of people who get back surgeries for slip discs, et cetera, are getting surgeries that their body does not need. Because this guy, Dr. John Sarno, who was a back doctor who watched when all these things started happening for the first time in the 60s and 70s, people didn't have major back problems until then. He started looking at people's x-rays and going, you know what? There's no physical reason for you to be in this much pain. There's nothing physically wrong with you. Your structure is perfectly capable of allowing you to walk and to carry things. There's nothing wrong with you. Why are you in so much pain? So Jedi Black Knight, you keep telling me these excuses of why you can't do standing postures. I believe you that the pain is unbearable. I believe that. But this is your mind's way of talking you out of doing something that is obviously bringing to your awareness things in your unconscious. I don't know you, but I'm willing to bet you either hate your job and or hate your marriage and or hate where you live and or there's something that you're doing in your life. You're forcing yourself to do something that on an unconscious level is absolutely intolerable for you. And so you can keep trying to do you're trying to do two things at once, and that's okay. So my suggestion to you is to figure out a way to do the standing postures. I just got through saying, interestingly enough, you know the rules. You're supposed to write the word question in all caps and then ask it. And you keep, hang on, I think there's, hang on 1 second here. I think there's some mail or something. All right, that was the mailman. All right. So there's something that you're in conflict about. And so one of the things that happens that has happened from the beginning with you, I think I did look at your astrology chart now that I think about it. So one of the things that you're always doing is you're always trying to change the instructions. I'll tell you exactly how to do things and then you'll message me. And every single one of your messages almost always is about, can you change this to that? Or can you add this to this? You're wanting to change, get out of the discipline. The discipline is important for you. Following directions to the letter is important for you. Because when you do that, what will happen is your conflict will come to your conscious awareness. Your desire to constantly change the directions is your way of avoiding what the practice is trying to do. The practice is trying to bring to your conscious awareness what your soul really wants to do and the conflict that you are in. So now you have bought into it. Your body has told you, I have tendonitis, there's something physically wrong, and therefore you can't do the standing posture. But the truth is, you can stand up and walk from one end of the room to the other, even if it's painful. That means that your body is perfectly capable of supporting you in a posture. You're having pain because there's inflammation in the tendons and the nerves, because your mind is trying to keep you distracted from whatever it is that you're not doing or changing, that your soul wants to do. There's something that's driving you batty, and you're in deep turmoil about it. So, I mean, you can do whatever you need to do to change the postures to avoid the pain, or you could do what Dr. Sarno teaches, which is, for me, there are times when, something, my knee or my neck or something, I'll wake up and I'll be stiff and sore and it'll be painful. And if I were to listen to it, I'd say, I better stay home today and not go surfing. And instead, I get up off my ass and I get out in the water and I start paddling, and the necessary functioning of doing that, it stops. The pain goes away because it's all up here. So I'm not going to co-sign that for you unless you can prove to me, if you can go to a doctor and have him show you with x-rays that you've got a broken ankle or something like that, which is making it impossible structurally for you to stand up in that posture, I'm not going to co-sign that for you. If you want to alter the practice because of the pain, you're not going to hurt my feelings. And it doesn't mean you won't get something out of it if you're just doing seated postures. So I'm not talking you out of doing that. There's no shortage of seated postures to do. But you're already in a conflict. Instead of just going, the standing postures are painful, I'm just going to focus on the seated meditations. There are meditations I teach that are just seated. They're not meant to be done standing. Why aren't you just doing those? Why don't you just say, I'm just going to stick with the seated meditations? Why do you have to try and get the standing postures but turn them around so that they'll be seated postures? It's because you want to do the real thing. You want to do the tradition as it's taught. So make a decision. Are you going to do the postures as I teach them? Or are you going to try and get me to co-sign your unconscious conflict and resistance towards whatever it is that you're avoiding within yourself? Because I'm not going to do that. Own it. Either say to yourself, you know what? For whatever reason, if you want to buy into the idea, maybe it's true. I presume it's not, but maybe it's true. If you want to buy into the idea that there is something physically wrong with the structure of your ankle that prevents you from being able to get in a standing posture, then own that and do just the seated postures. If you want the benefits of the standing postures, then it's time to start looking at John Sarno's work, maybe read his books, start really researching tension myositis syndrome, and start making the decision that you're going to reverse that. Because you can make that decision. You can make the decision to overcome that. I have gone through it before, and every now and then when I hit plateaus, I have to keep doing it, because that's one of the things that my body does. It starts trying to trick me into thinking I've got some kind of tendonitis issue somewhere, and it keeps popping up in different places. And I end up, making the decision, I'm not going to let that stop me. And when I become aware, as I've shared on this channel, of the things that I am in conflict about, and I take action towards what my soul wants, the physical problem disappears every single time. So decide what you want to do, Jedi Black Knight. Stop asking me, please, stop asking me to change the practices just for you. I'm not going to do that for two reasons. Practice is the practice. I've said this to you before. And also because I want to give you the opportunity to break through and actually resolve the conflict that's causing the pain to begin with. Because as you know, that pain didn't start until you started doing the practices, right? What a coincidence. The practices that are designed to bring to your conscious awareness what your soul truly wants, that's when all of a sudden you started having this ankle problem, right? Okay. Let's see what else. Jameson-san, honest feeling. Got adrenaline rush due to horror game. What? Too long, only felt it from stress, forgot action sports. Happy, proud, I'm okay. Okay. I'm not sure I understand completely what's going on there, but it's enough just to share the honest feeling. That's why I ask people to do that. Share honest questions or honest feelings. Those are the two most important things. Ruining champagne and paint. What the hell does that mean? Question. Should I just focus on doing Megan and Mott? So this person is talking about the Thor's Belt Qigong. So if you can go onto my channel, look either in the playlists or search, look for Thor's Belt Qigong, or I think I have also Thor's Hammer. So look at those two and you'll know what he's talking about. He says, should I just focus on doing Megan and Mott and then progress gradually after a week or month and do Megan and Mott, then after a set, then do Megan Yord and Yarn Gripper all in one session? It's up to you. I don't know what you should or shouldn't do. I don't remember exactly what I told you to do in those videos, but it's up to you. So one thing everybody should know about all of the practices that I teach on video. All of the practices that I teach on video, I specifically design so that you can do them in whatever manner you choose. There are some practices that if you learn from a teacher, you have to follow the direction and the timings, you know, and the postures to the letter. Otherwise, you could do yourself damage. Having been somebody who's learned from video, I know that people will do things wrong because there's nobody there to correct them. They will do things out of order. There are some people that, and I've been this way, who are impatient and will want to do this, that, or the other thing. They won't go in the order you tell them to. So there's freedom. With everything I teach, you can take each one of those practices by themselves, or you can mix and match them. The only thing that I require that people do is that if I tell you to ground after a practice, then you have to ground. You have to put, ground yourself into your navel. Put your hands over your navel, breathe long and deep, or end with the hool breath posture. That is also grounding. That's the only thing I require. If I tell you to do self-massage and grounding afterwards, then do that. Other than that, you can do it in any order you want, because I know you're going to do it in whatever way you want anyway, just like Jedi Black Knight. You're going to want to do whatever the hell you want, however you want to do it. So, Jedi Black Knight, you can do that. The question you asked, you can do that. You don't even have to ask me. You don't have to keep asking me, can I do this and can I do this? Can I change it this way and do it that way? If that's what you want to do, just do it. Stop asking me to co-sign it for you. If you want the benefits, then the best way to do that is to follow the directions as best as you can, as I've laid it out. But I give everybody the freedom to do whatever they want. So Indrajit Maman, you can do that whatever way you want. Experiment and find the exact combination that works best for you. And you can also choose to do it. There's nothing wrong with just choosing to do the hool breath by itself. Right? So if you want to just do Megan and Mott by itself, do that. If you want to do however, really just enjoy it. Have as much fun as you want and find out what works best with you. What else? Follow up. I do practice the exercise prescribed by John Sarno. I can now walk several miles without pain, but it seems to come back while doing standing postures. There's a couple of reasons for that. I mean, the standing postures are standing. I mean, I can't, like, if somebody, the last couple of weeks when the landlords were here and we were in the back and we were talking and I was standing for a long time, and I don't do well just standing. It was really hard on my knees. for whatever reason. So I understand that. If what you want, it sounds like what you want is you want to get back to doing the standing postures. So start doing that. The standing postures are going to shift your mind. They're going to bring to your awareness. And there's obviously a big block. There's some unconscious block that's trying to prevent you from becoming aware. If your posture is incorrect, then listen to the energy. You can do, here's something you can try. Face northwest and ask the Ascended Masters to change your posture so that you can do it. But the goal of doing the standing postures should be to become aware of what the conflict is. So you can go into the pain and you can ask it, what am I doing wrong? What do you want me to do? Right? Because again, there's something that you are in conflict about. And you're at odds with yourself because the posture is what created the pain to begin with, because the pain is the response of you becoming aware of what you're in conflict about. So you have to know going into it that taking the posture, you can tell your ankle, you can say, I thank you for protecting me, because it's trying to protect you. Your unconscious mind is trying to protect you because it thinks if you, let's say for example, it's you can't stand your job. I don't know what it is, but let's say it's that. If what's going on is you can't stand your job because you're doing it just to be a good person, or you think you need to do it to make money, or to make your wife happy, or make your parents happy, or make God happy, or whatever it is that you're choosing to do that job that you can't stand, assuming that's what it is, then every time you get into the standing posture, that awareness is trying to come to your mind, and your unconscious mind says, I can't tolerate that. Let's put some pain in the ankle, and that will distract him enough, and then he'll stop doing it, and then he won't become aware. Because if he becomes aware, he'll lose the job, and he needs that to be a good person. So you have to then ask. The pain is trying to tell you something. There's something you're not doing. So you can do the posture and ask the pain, what is it you want me to do? So instead of trying to avoid the pain or hide from it, go into it and experience it and see what's going on there. All right? Let's see. Interjeet Maman, hey Thunder Wizard, I tried the Qigong on your channel and it was a really wonderful thing. Just wanted to ask, is there a certain time that's better to do it? As I've said many times before, the best time to do these practices is at night. In fact, I will reveal to you, I was going to make a whole video about it, but I'll reveal to you, since you're working with the heart center, which is specifically the area surrounding the heart, and that is called the pericardium meridian, which is, as you've heard me talk about, is this feminine entity that surrounds the soul, and is the lightning is what holds the soul in stasis, so your soul can walk around in three-dimensional reality. So that energy that surrounds it, that lightning feminine energy, is called the heart mind. And the time period that the heart mind is most active is between, I believe, 7:30 and 9 o'clock p.m. And what do we do between 7:30 and 9? We eat. And what do? We go out to eat. We sit down with the family. If you're on a date, what is one of the most common thing to do is to pick somebody up around 6:30 or 7 and take them to a restaurant and sit down and have wine and chocolate and a meal. It's a way to bond from the heart. So from 7:30 to 9 is one of the most powerful times to do this practice. But you can also do it before bed. That's also a good time to do it. Do the practice before bed, and then do your meditation, and then go to sleep. So I've said that many times, but I'll repeat myself. That's when it's best to do that. Jameson-san, question. What you said about resonating with the highest heavens and how adherence to beliefs and thoughts that block is a barrier. Is it more accurate that it's only a problem when influencing your actions? Is it more accurate that it's only a problem when influencing your actions? Well, your actions are a result of your thinking. Your actions usually are the result of your feelings and your impulses. So it's not an either or. I mean, you know, if I've got a conspiracy theorist in front of me who's got some weird messed up idea about something, you know, what's worse? Is it that they're storming the Capitol, which would be taking an action? Or is it that they're sitting around watching YouTube and indulging in the feelings of being a victim? You can't separate them. They go hand in hand. The one thing that you have control over is your actions. You don't always have control over your thoughts and your feelings, which is why doing any of the practices, but specifically for today, doing this practice will end up shifting your awareness, which will change your thoughts and your beliefs, and those will change your actions. So you can't snap your fingers and make yourself, you know, become sane, but you can take actions that will change your awareness. This is one of those actions, right? Okay, what else? Interjeet Maman says, I try to stop eating at, okay. What does that have to do with anything? You asked me what was the best time to do the practice. I told you between 7:30 and 9 because it opens up the heart center. This is when most people eat because it's the thing, the fact that, you know, when you want to stop, I don't care. Eat, don't eat. I don't care. I'm glad it works for you though, whatever it is. I don't see any other questions here. So, yeah, that's it. If you haven't already, let's see, Interjeet Maman. If you haven't already, go here, thunderwizard.com, click around, subscribe to the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. It is a monthly subscription. You can unsubscribe whenever the hell you want. Don't tell me you can't afford it, because you've got a phone, you've got a car, you've got a library card, you get coffee, you know, something. You can find that little amount of money every month, because that's the biggest thing people say is I can't afford it. If you can't afford, you know, a few dollars a month for a subscription that will absolutely completely change your life, then there's nothing I can say. We've got here the maoshan.thunderwizard.com. Go check that out. That is the elite practice. If you're doing that, I want you to be doing this with it. When you do this, you automatically get access to this, which we are talking about more, which again, the two of these things together are unbeatable because this gives you power. This gives you strength and power to take action. And here we talk about the actions that you take that literally change your external reality. All right, excuse me. So that's it for me if there's no other questions. Vincent.thunderwizard.com says hello. He has a website, which is vincent.thunderwizard.com. And he is one of the certificates. Why do I have a hard time with this? He's one of my Vedic astrology certificate holders. And so he's actually, he's learned a lot about Vedic astrology that I haven't learned yet. He's a great astrologer. Go to his website if you want to get a good reading from him. And he's also doing a lot of the practices. And if you want to ask somebody direct questions about what I'm talking about, he can share his experience. Okay, that's all I got. I got nothing else on my mind. So I will see you when I see you, everybody. Take care of yourselves, be safe, and do the practices so that we don't have to go into a dark ages. I'd like to avoid that. Okay, I'll talk to you guys later.